For you, what does the future look like for people who are living in the rural areas?
You know, for me, I believe that when we first came, we came with a savior attitude. We thought we had all the ideas and the people in the village didn't know anything. Okay. Then we quickly realized that actually no, old knowledge is what is running the world today. So like the huts around, they have great thermal mass, which means they keep their temperature hot and cold and so on.
Yes.
The kind of farming techniques, if you go back and ask the older people, all the things that we're doing currently in the Western world trying to correct the problems that we've created are all rural. So during COVID...
So we're going back now?
Yeah, they encouraged you during COVID to live in places that would breathe, live in smaller sort of quarters, live in separate rooms. All of the things they were recommending during COVID were all rural solutions.
Now it's starting to make sense.
Yeah, which is why we didn't get sick in the villages.
It's
so
amazing.
Welcome to our tiny house. City life is a failure. It's a failure of planning. When people talk, you know, in Zimbabwe, we talk about, hey, spaghetti roads, what. That's a failure of planning. We now have space in the rural areas to do it again and do it differently. We now need almost like a book that says, what is rural Zimbabwe? How do we see it? And every year we must update it. We must inspire people in the universities to say, don't do projects of building skyscrapers. Build us something that resembles a Tonga hut, but is low-cost housing, cheaper materials, using stuff from landfills. That's the level where we need to be thinking. Instead of saying, no, when I have no money or I failed in life, let me move to the village. That's the misconception we have now. And this is why we say we now have a strong rural background. Because we want to change that misconception of being more about forward thinking, but understanding what our background is.
The person should not struggle to have a roof over there.
Yeah, and that's the main thing. Right now, every person in Zimbabwe has a right to rural land, but nobody's taking it.
Why? I mean, that's the question. Why?
Yeah, because everybody uses that same thing. Oh, I don't have a what do you call it? I don't have a title deed.
Yes.
I was like, yes, but you run a business in Harare. Where's your title deed?
You are renting.
You are renting. In Harare, where's your title deed? What is your argument here? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, the more we get that urban to rural migration and the more we're conscious about what we're doing, we are the ones who will be giving solutions. Right now, our company is giving solutions. Right? We're giving solutions as a rural company, imagine, to tech companies to say this is the new way of thinking about tech. This is the new way of thinking about education. So normally with our project Rural BNB, we get to take around our village or many other villages, lots of documentary filmmakers from abroad. So you can understand my excitement when I got to do this with a local young filmmaker and content producer, Kelvin Birioti, who has over 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, and just taking him around the village, taking him through the philosophy of rural BNB, and also just showing what the trajectory of some of the projects that we're working on are. But also, most importantly, we've just moved back to the village, so it was also a great opportunity to show some of the developments of people that have invested quite a bit in our own village. To build some amazing establishments. One place which I think is just the flagship of everything that we're talking about in terms of rural BNB is a place called Peniel Retreat, which is just an insane investment into rural tourism. So we got to find out about the story behind the place, and taking Kelvin around was just such an honor to be able to share such an incredible story.
Zimbabwe, we sort of like running away from our culture. And when you go to another country, someone told me that you barely recognize a Zimbabwean. They don't showcase their culture, they don't do anything, they don't talk about their country.
Well, firstly, a lot of us as celebrities have made a very big mistake. We listen to people too much. We listen to the comments. We forget the comments is not Zimbabwe. And I've remained resolute and very stubborn in this regard, where I've said, no, my job actually as Culture Shangwe is no longer to create anything. It's actually to bring up everyone who's younger than me, to father them into the next generation. I have to plant the trees of which shade I will not enjoy. I have to accept that that's what's going to happen. I have to be the guy who's going to lay all of the groundwork, write all of the books. It's not going to make sense now, but when I die, I can promise you, everything I have written on a daily basis, and I write daily. I've done this as a meticulous thing to say, I will be the one, I will write the religion. Whatever that religion is, we're going to write it. We're going to say, this is how the toilets are made. This is how the houses are built. Because we cannot listen to people when God has already transferred that information to us.
So the environment, this side, it's not conducive for crop.
No, it's not. However, agriculture has changed so much, right?
Yes.
So in terms of conservation of water, stuff like hydroponics, aquaponics would be better. If you think about it, there is a line of water that goes from the town going to the airport, and it's carrying water from the Zambezi, so it's untreated water. So that fish water would resemble an aquaponics tank. And if you put that through your crops, it would have the right nutrients to grow the food. So the idea was, what could we do within this house? So I'll take you through the layout of it.
Okay.
I think you can jump here. You're young enough to jump here.
Yeah.
I will go around.
Okay.
The bathroom, the type of toilet that we're using is called a composting toilet. In fact, it's been lifted, it's here. So that's the toilet there. Basically, you do your stuff in a bucket. And you put sand. There's no smell and there's no flies. I often ask, after 40 odd years of independence, is the Blair toilet the best we can do? With all the universities we've created, with all the engineers we have, has anybody thought, listen, let's take 10 years to think about the toilet again? Because for me, it breaks my heart that an old woman has to over a hole. I mean, we're better as a country. You know, if we did something better. So the composting toilet just allows us to use the bucket system. You can empty that into your biogas digester and then create your own gas. Then it comes out as fertilizer and then you feed it to the trees. But the nice thing about this is that this kind of starter kit is like for young people, just like, listen, go back to the village. Get your internet via Starlink or whatever, right? 10 of you use the same Starlink. It will cost you $60 each, right? Build a house. It's like a chicken coop. Look, we've covered it with canvas, right? You've got a bedroom, you've got a bathroom, you've got a kitchen, right? All your kitchen cupboards have already been...
Oh, this is nice.
Right? And then you've got your lounge.
Oh, so like...
That's a sofa there.
So you just put the
cushions on top.
Amazing.
But what we are trying to do is find recyclable material that actually can be used, like stuff we can find from garbage and whatever it is that can be recycled into, like to make a material, a composite material to put over here to make a sofa. And stick your little projector there and then project onto a screen, and then you're done. And this is just 12 by 3 meters. And the whole yard is 12 by 12. So answering this question about can rural work, imagine now if all your food was coming from here and you've got enough here to look after yourself. Then maybe build a little chicken run on the other side. How many chickens do you really need per month? And how many eggs do you need a day? That's the basic idea. And right now on our piece of land, it stretches
to where?
I think we are on about 100 by 100. So we have the smallest piece of land in the whole village.
But you can do a lot here.
A lot here, and I will literally take you around so
this
that you
man.
can see. Yeah.
This man.
So the idea here is just, listen. We shouldn't despise certain things. We shouldn't look at something and say, I know a lot of people were laughing initially online. They were looking at it.
You see?
But look at, it's the same shape, it's the same cost.
So what are you going to put here? Like
glass. So because we're going to put sliding doors, glass, because the whole idea, the way that we built it, because we're in Victoria Falls and it's very, very hot, right? So we had to build it behind so that the sun goes behind. So we're constantly in shade. But what happens is because the sun hits that concrete wall on the back, it retains heat. So it still dissipates heat in the house after. So the idea is to say, how smart can we make this house? And the idea is that I want to have a different graduate every month staying here to perfect this house until it gets so smart that we can box this, because when we calculated the materials here, if you break them up, if we weren't using concrete bricks and so on,
Yes.
you could break this up and fit it into a truck and go and assemble it somewhere else. This is the idea of this particular house we're building. We're going to our past.
We are going to your past.
To our past. So our principle is what we call the elastic or the catapult effect, right?
Yes, yes.
So my wife and I discovered that we had been paying, since we left home,
Yes.
when we were teenagers, we've been paying close to $300,000 in rent between the two of us, right? And none of us own a house.
Yeah.
So now in our 40s, how are we going to own a house? So we started off by buying a tent, and we lived at rest camp for a year, right? Then after that, we then got a bus that was being thrown away.
Yes.
And then we, on YouTube, learning from YouTube,
Yes.
we decided to actually convert it into a house. So this was our second house. Why we wanted the house is because we lived in rest camp in this bus for a year, testing our solar and so on, making sure that we would be able to move this, because we didn't know which rural piece of land we were going to move on to, or whether we were going to be able to cope. So we moved this bus here.
Look at this, guys.
And then we lived in this bus for 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah, in the village.
Huh? Here.
Yeah.
Look at
So
this.
we built a veranda area. We had a shower here. Our toilet was here.
Yes.
We had a shed over the top here that was collecting rainwater. And in here was a bed, couch, and then, like the stove and everything. We've got the pictures and everything. So the idea was that this would allow us to accumulate enough money to be able to build that.
Oh.
Yeah. So now we could tear this apart. Now everybody knew about this bus because we put it online. It got so many sponsorships and so on. We ended up actually stripping it because now we're turning it into an Airbnb so people can come and stay and get a feel of what we were going through.
Right now, you haven't built anything like that much.
No, we haven't built anything.
And yet you managed to monetize everything.
Yes, 100%.
How?
Yeah, because the issue sometimes is that monetization is about when you have a big idea.
Yes.
If you break it into smaller parts,
Yes.
you can monetize small bits. So, for example, rural BNB. Let's look at it. It's the big idea.
Yes.
Right. So, how do I monetize the smaller bits? I monetize the smaller bits by having people come here for me to cook for them around the fire. So that's one area. The other area is that I consult with other people trying to build. So I make money from that perspective. I then write books and I monetize those books. I write articles and I get paid for the articles.
So you were staying here?
Yes, we're staying here. So here, this is where our sort of outdoor area was. We'd chill here. That's where we used to keep our water. So 1,000 liters would come here every week. So when the water gets delivered, because remember, we don't have water here.
Yes.
So our water gets delivered. So 1,000 liters would come. My wife and I would swim on the first day. Then the next day, that water we used to water our plants. We also had water for washing dishes that would also come and showering and so on. And we even had like a little lounge sitting area, and I used to do my cooking shows in that area there.
And people would come?
Yeah. And this is our old toilet, so you can still see the compost in the old toilet.
Yes.
Yeah. This is our old stuff.
Yeah.
In there. Yeah. So like there's no smell, but when you take this, dig a hole, and plant a tree. So the plan around this particular area is we're going to be putting a campsite here.
I mean, 10 years ago, were you thinking of what you are now implementing?
No, not even. I think, so unfortunately, rural was not even in the equation. In fact, why we moved to the village is because I don't even have a rural homestead as the Ncube people. And I was looking for, and most of the ideas we've come up with are solving our own problems first. And that's one key thing in business. Don't try and solve someone else's problem.
Yes.
If you solve yours, it's likely someone's willing to pay for your solution.
That's amazing.
So that's how rural came. When we came and moved here, it was because we're looking for a place to stay. Remember, we're looking for our own home. It was the curiosity that everyone had with our story that turned this into a business. Because my inbox was flooded. We had 300 visitors come here during COVID. We didn't even give them the address, but they knew the location. We would stand by the side of the road and people would just know, oh, that's Carl, they would stop. Yeah, so it's weird that when you solve your own problem, it creates a momentum. And that's a momentum we can't ignore as a company.
So you are here in the rural areas and you have found ways to monetize everything. You barely have anything fancy.
Fancy, yeah, there's nothing. Oh man, like if you saw our outdoor shower, that shower there, that was an outdoor shower. When my wife is showering, I'm the one who lifts the bucket and it's got holes at the bottom and she gets to shower like properly. And it's so weird because that was the most watched video we ever had, right? That we posted online. And it's strange because it's weird because Zimbabweans are the only country that I know in the world where we have a very self-loathing ideology. Other people, like in Botswana, people go to the village every week. They are proud of it. But in Zimbabwe, we have funerals all the time. But not a single person has made it comfortable for themselves. Every time you go for a funeral, when you're going to drink, you can carry a cooler box with ice and all of those things.
Yes.
Yet in the village, you go 5-6 times. You don't wanna just put something that your friends can come and see, something that you can put on our website and people can book and you can make money. You know, if we look at our culture exists without a formalized religion.
Yes.
So it's very easy for Christians to easily know how to change an African. Because they can say, oh, what you're doing is demonic.
Exactly.
What you're doing is this.
Exactly.
But there isn't no one has organized our religion in a way that it's not just about the worship. It's not just about mushonga. It should be about architecture. It should be about songs. It should be about culture. It should be about parenting. Books should be written about how to parent a child in African ideology in the modern day. These should be the thesis and the assignments being given in the universities. Not for us to there should be a clear direction from a said ministry to say whether it's going to be a ministry created that is of rural innovation, that is specifically going to look at that area to say, how do we re-engineer our rural mentality to bring it into, say, the 21st whatever century that we're in.
When we are having people coming into the rural areas, you know, bringing modernity, building beautiful houses, are we not destroying rural life?
Yeah, so it's a catch-22 situation, right?
Yes.
You want to develop,
yes,
but you also don't want to lose an identity. So I think what's happening right now is that there isn't a clear blueprint. Yes. Nobody is thinking rural planning. There's city planners, but no rural planners. So when we came into the market as Rural B&B, we wanted to be the rural planners, not to prescribe, but to inspire, to say to people, hey, yes, it's good, build a mansion, it's great, but here are some cool ideas of what you could do currently. And I think that's what it is. I think in Africa, we're just lacking companies that are taking the focus of what is our culture, past, present, and future. How do we project ourselves? How do we look like in the future? We're not saying we must live in mud huts. No. What we're saying, let us take the old knowledge and put it into our thinking moving forward. And that could look like anything. It could be pods, it could be tents, it could be anything. Yeah, so I think like right now the conversations, I love what you are doing, because what you're doing is you're opening everyone's eyes in terms of what's happening on the ground. There are other content providers. What we now need to do is put all of this stuff together. We now need almost like a book that says, what is rural Zimbabwe? How do we see it? And every year we must update it. We must inspire people in the universities to say, don't do projects of building skyscrapers. Build us something that resembles a Tonga hut, but is low-cost housing, cheaper materials, using stuff from landfills. That's the level where we need to be thinking. There was one ambassador who said to me, why isn't your government isn't building schools? Why are people traveling 20 k's to the nearest school? I said, why are you building schools 20 k's away when our education happens in the home? Exactly. You were the first to homeschool. You are the ones who made us put on uniforms to go out. When Anna Gogo wanted to teach us the gestation period of goats, they wanted to teach us how to grow things. You are now teaching us about Harry and Sally of 2 apples and 3 bananas. Things that are so foreign to how we think. We need to rethink that thinking.
That's not us in the rural areas.
Yeah. What is that stuff that he's got 2 cats and 3 dogs? Like what is that?
Do you think that it's possible to achieve something like that in the rural areas, you know, where we can have a stable economy in the rural areas, people not depending on those who are living in the cities?
I think for us, Rural B&B, our main thing is make rural cool. As long as it is cool. This is the reason why we moved there, because we had to put our money where our mouth was. We couldn't suggest to people. Everyone who works in rural development currently doesn't even live in the village. They travel to the village to go talk to villagers, talk down. They don't live with the villagers. And the issue was like, we needed to be in the village and understand the lifestyle, appreciate it, enjoy it, love it. And the solutions will come. Rural B&B did not even come as an idea before we moved to the village. We lived here for 2 years. And then we realized, oh my gosh, people are visiting us on a daily basis. How can we make this a product that everyone else can benefit from?
Yes.
Right now, I can tell you right now, we have zero light pollution in this area. If you were an astronomer, and I did astronomy in school, if you look at how beautiful the Milky Way is, if you look at how beautiful the Scorpius constellation is, or Alpha Antares looks like at night, and how beautiful that red giant is, those kind of things. If you're an astronomer and you were coming here, you would pay top dollar just to be able to observe the planets from Africa, because there aren't many spaces like that. And we don't realize what we're sitting on. We just keep putting lights and lights and lights in places that shouldn't actually have lights, that we can actually do things that are more meaningful, more sustainable, and actually bring in more revenues to our communities.
People in the cities, there are hospitals close by.
Yeah.
And yet, at the end of the day, they're not really healthy compared to people living in the rural areas. What is the secret?
Yeah, no, the secret here is like, whenever I was seen limping, because I'm a diabetic, right? So I'm a diabetic, and so people, firstly, they knew that I had diabetes. Then I had a problem with my leg, so I had a diabetic wound. So even though I was being treated in the clinic, which is one of the best clinics in the area, by the way, for $1, by the way, right? And then as I'm walking back, someone from the village will just pass by, give me a root to chew on, or will tell me something that I need to stick on my... And then when you look it up online, you see it as a key ingredient of a drug that's actually harvesting that crop in Zimbabwe, taking it to some pharmaceutical company to sell it to you as a white tablet.
But here in Zimbabwe, when someone actually gives you roots to chew, you say, I don't want that. It's either juju or something like that.
Yeah. And also one of the biggest things that actually causes more healing in the village, people don't even know it, it's oxygen. Your body needs good quality oxygen.
Yes.
So when you're living in a flat Kumatapi, where is your oxygen coming from?
Nowhere.
Why do we want to keep living there? It's killing our bodies. Yet we could be here, fresh air, the body repairs itself.
What should we do to change everything?
You know what, to be honest with you, I have two minds. We don't have to be many.
Oh, okay.
And this is the thing that I use with a lot of people to say, listen, when you argue with me, I'm like, it's okay, my brother. Tirashoma will go on the ark.
Yes.
We don't need you. Because Mukawanda, it's our best kept secret. In fact, we shouldn't even be saying this on video. We don't want you here. 5 people. Because you know what? The issue here is not an argument of popularity. It's about getting quality minds to really rethink about how they use the space. We don't want nightclubs here. We don't want double-story, triple-story places here. No, what we want is to get back to our roots and think about Zimbabwe before colonialism. What were we doing before? And maybe the clues for our future will come from there. Because there was knowledge there. There was a reason why clay pots keep water cold without refrigeration.
I'm thinking about it. Do you think that we are adapting that Western culture too much?
Yeah, and it's a case of marketing. The best marketed products are the ones that are consumed. So nobody is going to care about sustainable lifestyle unless you market it well enough as a product. It has to be a product marketed to the right people at the right time at the right price. If we don't achieve that, then no, it's not a gospel. We're not trying to get people into church here. We are trying to make a commercially viable product, to say, listen, when we are building in the villages, this small blueprint that we have created here, we're saying, yes, more people can live in a smaller space, more fields for farming. Let's not occupy too much of the space by putting a residence and then having lots of space between people. No, we can still pack people, but we can do it in a more sustainable manner. Because there are villages that are built like, we're not the only village in the world. Go to a lot of developed villages in Switzerland, and you go to Norway. There are ways in which villages have been built using principles they've adopted even from Africa.
Yeah.